Today, it's World Sleep Day, so welcome to Hey, welcome to ChillPoint.
I do all my sleeping at night. Thank you very much.
No, you don't. If you're gonna lie, at least make it a believable one.
Yeah, World Sleep Day. It should be World Sleep Night. Yeah, I don't know why but fine.
Welcome to World Sleep Day. Why are you awake?
Why are you
listening
still
to
awake?
this announcement?
It's just like on the emergency air raid thing, just like giant speakers be like, "It is World Sleep Day. Please go back to sleep. This message will repeat in 5 minutes."
Your phone does the missing person override alarm.
Oh, back to sleep.
But yeah, I forget where I was informed about that, but I don't know, in my calendar or something. Something informed me. I think it was probably like a marketing email or something.
Oh, okay.
But it was like, yeah, apparently the World Sleep Council denoted today as World Sleep Day.
I hope they're part of the
How do
WHO.
How do I get on that council?
Yeah.
I have some thoughts.
Unfortunately,
Is this
they don't get a
marketing?
lot done because
Is this marketing email about mattresses, or is it just everybody else who's just like, don't sleep on this deal?
it was. I think it was something like that. Yeah, it wasn't actually about mattresses.
I wonder if we could
Have some calming tea.
I wonder if we could do like a crap shot that is just like a slow pan across the neighborhood, and then like the siren goes off, and it's it is World Sleep Day, like that kind of thing, and pan across like a few it's basically just a bunch of static shots of panning across like the air raid sirens and all sorts of stuff doing that, because you don't have to show anybody, you just have to have somebody talking.
I mean, we've done a lot of floating ready lives kind of based on holidays. Maybe we should do a bunch based on really arbitrary days, like Arbor Day or World Sleep Day, Rice Krispies Day. So it's the whole episode is just us eating Rice Krispie squares. I think that'd be a great one.
I object that you put Arbor Day in the same list as Rice Krispies Day or
Why?
World Sleep.
Well, his dad's a landscaper.
Arbor Day has a little bit more of like a pedigree, I'd say.
Fine, regular Crispy Day.
Yeah, regular
Crispy Day
and
yeah.
Rice Krispie Day. Yeah.
Anyway,
We only do
everybody.
live once a month, and those are both in the same month, so we should do both.
Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news.
Wait, is Arbor Day secretly just a smoke weed every day kind of holiday?
Earth Day is a secret kind of smoke weed everyday holiday.
Is it a
Is
secret?
it a secret?
Well, it's not. I guess it's not that big of a secret, but is it also in April?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. Somebody will tell us. Thank you. Hey, everybody.
So let's get into some video game news, starting with some of the stuff we talked about during the episode of Checkpoint that went up yesterday, which it was up a little later in the day than usual because we filmed it later in the day.
Yeah, it's not for any real exciting reason.
We were busy with
Everybody
stuff.
had meetings.
Cosmologically, it wasn't up that much later.
It's true.
Yeah.
But
It was up
if you were planning on
probably about 3 hours later than normal.
if you were planning on if you normally watch it like during your lunch break and it wasn't there. Right?
You probably had to move to a new time zone.
I preemptively went into the Discord and told people that it was coming in late, so that because there's always one person who's like, "Are they not doing Checkpoint today?" And I'm like,
Are they not
it's
live
rendering.
anymore?
It's almost done.
Yeah, it's never. Are they not doing it today? A lot of times, are they not doing it anymore, or have they all died?
Have they canceled it?
Nobody
Yeah.
actually asks if we've all died.
It's good.
I've never seen that one.
Is Loading Ready Run still living anymore? Yes.
Net.
Speaking of things that have been around for a long time and are hopefully still alive, Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
It's its 30th anniversary. It's Chronix 30th
Yeah,
anniversary.
that was great. I laughed really hard when I saw that graphic.
Thank
which
you, Paul.
Yeah, somebody asked whether we got the original guy to go back and fix it. No, that's just the Photoshop.
Yeah.
I apologize for defacing your amazing Sonic's 30th anniversary graphic.
You did a really good job, though. It all really, like, the curve and
Yeah.
everything fit in. Like, yeah, it looked good.
Anyway, but yeah, it's Chrono Trigger's 30th anniversary. And as an announcement and as like a promotional thing, so far, a little disappointing.
Yeah.
It's basically just like hey, we'll give you a bit of a discount on the current Chrono Trigger stuff.
Yep.
Which, I mean, is a thing you expect to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tease that in the announcement that they were going to be doing various projects throughout the year to take us beyond the world of the game.
It's a little much, the wording, because was it, I think Persona did a thing where they were like, oh, we're going to do various projects throughout the year, and a lot of them were like, there's a pop-up shop in this 1 month, and then there's some cupcakes or something, and then there's like maybe a big thing here, but not really. But they never tried to say beyond the game, as if
And it's
like
when you're talking about a promotion for this is a game that is a retro game that hasn't had a new edition for a very long time, like,
by which we mean like a sequel or a remaster,
right?
really.
So in a real true way, like, everything that Square Enix does is beyond the world of the game.
by virtue of.
To me, it seems like something where you would be like, we're putting out a manga serial that goes over the game story,
Manga cereal.
or maybe
I know what you're thinking. It's not the same thing.
It's just the ahegao face, but with also like a big spoon of cereal.
or
There you go.
like Okami's getting a sequel.
Oh yeah,
That's
So-
a thing.
So why not Chrono
I'm excited
Trigger?
about that.
Yeah, like Chrono Trigger really does feel like a. I had postulated the idea of like doing a remaster of Chrono Trigger. If they were like, we're gonna remake this game and it's gonna be in like modern 3D and like all these kind of, which not everybody wants.
But do a full like. But you're talking about like a
Yeah.
full Final Fantasy VII style remake where it's actually like
The story has
it's
changed a
different.
bit
Yeah.
and other things are
Yeah.
different, and it's
Many
like that would be
people
interesting.
Hated that idea in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's a great idea. I'm like, it's an interesting idea.
I mean, I've definitely seen some people talking about it would be neat to get like a 2D HD version.
That
of
would
it.
be cool too.
That would be
I
super
do
neat.
like that style, so I'd be okay with that.
And like I believe Chrono Trigger is in the realm of 3D, or of like the most recent Chrono Trigger release for the one for mobile, which I think is the most recent one.
Okay.
It does that thing that some less good like pixel game do, where they're like the pixel the pixel grid is not quite right.
Yeah,
Right,
and so
yeah,
it looks
yeah.
wrong when you
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at it.
Because it's not a one by one kind of thing. It's
And like the text is like all nice and crisp text, but it's in a pixelated thing. It just
and
I
it
don't
looks
know.
There's something
Sometimes
about
that just doesn't work well.
I hate that so much where you're like, oh, we've remastered it. We're using a modern typeface and whatever else. And I'm like, part of the charm of those games from back then is also that the typeface, even though it was a pixely typeface, right? It was unique. Like it was like either unique to the publisher or unique to the series. And it was something that felt very evocative because it was part of the experience of the game, was reading stuff in that. And everybody now is like, so fucking Helvetica, right? And it's like, yeah, fucking Helvetica. And then they all just lean into that. And I'm like, this all looks really samey and kind of gross. And I don't know why you didn't say, hey, have somebody update the old typeface, make a new font, put it into the thing. That's
Well, and sometimes there's the like characters will like speak in different fonts to indicate different emotions or different types of talking or different things like that.
or a language you can't understand or something.
The thing that the
They
pixel
always put French in cursive.
But like something that is a pet peeve of mine is pixel art games, and this happens also. I would say this probably happens even more so with like modern pixel art games, but pixel art games that are not where like they're being made in an engine or something that is not a pixel art engine, and so like, you know, for instance, like an object will scale smoothly.
Oh yeah.
Or things will move smoothly, and so you end up with sort of like things are not perfectly aligned, are not aligned to the pixel grid,
Right.
or you'll have pixels and like, or something will be pixelated and something else will be pixelated, but they'll be at different sizes of pixels.
Right, and you're just like, oh, that looks really super weird.
It's like that's now, it's like worse than Anyway,
the one thing that I think, like by and large, this could just be a victim of Japanese hype marketing, which is a weird thing for me to say, but go with me on this journey. If you have ever picked up a manga and you have opened it to like the splash page of something that's on like its, you know, 7th chapter or something like that, generally what you'll see is you'll see like breathless type spread across the splash page that's like, the smash hit series that's taking Japan by storm, 300,000 sold, now in its second printing, like stuff that's not that big a deal, but they're screaming their heads off about this thing.
They're trying to make it look exciting.
Yeah, they're trying to be like, you should be so excited and into this, and we are trying to jam this shit down your throat as much as we can. And so everything is full of superlatives that are insurmountable. Like it's just like, and this is like taking it beyond the world of the game. I'm like, that is Japanese hype marketing right there, where it's like, we need to say something astounding that is crazy making. And then it gets translated in English, and we're like, that's so silly that you would say something like that, because that's not really what putting a sale on iOS or Android is all about. So that's what I feel this is a lot of, is just that it probably just got translated from whatever the marketing plan was. But
now I will say at 7 p.m. Pacific today, there is also apparently a live stream of the game music.
which we don't know if that means if it's orchestral or if it's like, you know.
Yeah,
like
hope
a
maybe
garage
more
band.
info has come out about that. If it is just like a stream of literally the game music, that's pretty crappy.
The
but-
sound test, yeah.
It'd be pretty hype though if like we hit the Nintendo Switch 2 release and they talk about the games and suddenly there's like Chrono Trigger sequel or Chrono Trigger just being remade for Switch 2.
But yeah, the like
Hopes and dreams that you can definitely get smashed.
if they did like a Chrono Trigger version of the like lo-fi beats
Oh, yeah.
girl studying
Yeah.
with like what's her name, Luca, I think
Oh,
is
yeah.
the like scientist girl from
Right, and just have
from Chrono
her-
Trigger. That'd be good.
I've never, I played Chrono Trigger. I almost finished it. I did not finish it.
That sounds like most games you play though.
Yeah, well, not really. I try to finish as many as I can. Like when I
You
It take a long
constantly
time to-
are like,
to get there,
well,
but-
the boss is right there and I've got nothing left to do.
Yeah. Why would I want to let the game be over? That's more Zelda games. But Chrono Trigger is one of those ones where I was playing all the way through it, and then I was like, oh, I'm just at about the point where, not where the final boss is, but then where I was like getting close enough, and was like, I better do whatever else I need to kind of like buff myself up, and discovered that there's like a specialized, if you do it in this way and fight the even harder version of this, then you get the true ending kind of stuff. And I'm like, done!
Yeah.
I'm not playing this anymore.
Well, yeah, Chrono Trigger has a thing where you can go and fight the boss at very early in the game. Like once the sort of time travel stuff opens, you can always go to the end and fight the boss.
Yeah.
And sort of beat the game.
If you can win, yeah.
But yeah, and so I think the speed runs of Chrono Trigger are quite, and so yeah, you get different endings. and
I mean,
stuff,
when you're
but yeah.
used to games like Zelda games where you can probably go back and get all of the items whenever you want because the game won't biff you out of that, and then you go play like a Final Fantasy where if you leave an area, everything's destroyed and good luck, I guess you have to start over. It's yeah.
I hate that stuff.
Just to get like a whistle at the end of the game because it's special.
Yeah.
And now it was interesting. Graham mentioned in the after show Chrono Cross.
Oh, the New Game Plus thing. That might have been why I stopped. Anyway, go ahead. Yes, Chrono Cross.
Graham mentioned Chrono Cross, and there was a fair amount of both people being like, "Oh yeah, Chrono Cross. That was like the first game I played on PlayStation." I also saw a couple people being like, "I actually played Chrono Cross like recently. Not that good." You may have some nostalgia glasses on for that one.
Fair, yeah.
Which is fair. I mean, when Graham was describing it, all I could think of was Suikoden.
Yeah.
That is a game where you can get hundreds of people.
A ton
and
of
there
people.
are places where you could not get those people.
Yeah, a ton of people joining your party or potentially joining your party. To me, doesn't actually sound like that much of a good thing. I get kind of annoyed when my party in an RPG gets too big and I can't use them all. Like I can't use them all.
You have to swap them out.
Yeah, I have to
and
constantly
stuff.
swap them out and figure out what to do.
I mean, more modern games have different ways of dealing with that, but they don't typically also have like 100 characters for those things, right? It's like 8, but your party is only 3 or 4.
I also appreciate, I forget who it was, but some person in the YouTube comments that, because Graham mentioned that there's a for the potential people to join your party, there's a family of three people.
Yeah.
That only one of them will join each time.
Right.
And so you have to play through it 3 times in order to get all of them. And Scout was saying, and what is worse, they're all garbage.
The funny thing is, if I'd had a little bit more,
That whole family is
if
garbage,
we weren't,
apparently.
If we hadn't recorded so late in the day, I was tempted to go get like some pictures of Pokemon of the starters. Like it's like, because the more you start describing of like, oh, there's hundreds of people you have to add to your party, and it just starts to sound like a monster collecting game, except it's people.
Yeah.
People are the real monsters.
I do think it's
what they
interesting how like that kind of attitude of the of like, oh, we'll put 100 playable characters, right? That kind of attitude of every games that were like big or interesting or popular or whatever. A lot of times during that era, like during the 80s and 90s, and everyone's trying everything to be like, well, what's the thing that either sets our game apart or is such an interesting idea that this will lead to a revolution in how this style of game is made.
It's like the thing that everyone liked about Chrono Trigger wasn't that there were a lot of characters in your party.
Right. And I think that's the thing where it's like everyone was leaning into, well, what if we could do this and what if we could do that? It's like, yeah, well, let's try that. And I love that like that exists as an idea that everyone was like pulling one thing out and stretching it in a different direction. Be like, what more can we do? And it's like, freaking, what was that game recently? It was like you can play it for like 900 hours. It's like from walking from here to here would take you 900 hours or something. I can't remember. Was that wasn't Dying Light? It was. Oh,
it was something though that people were complaining about how the travel system was bad or whatever because you couldn't fast travel and like,
so it would take you this long to walk from A to B.
Was it Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Maybe
I can't remember. I thought it was something that started with a D. But that kind of idea of like, what can we do to stretch this? An aspect of this game in a certain direction, and maybe that'll be the amazing thing that everyone's like, oh, we love the idea. Hundreds of thousands of people being like, we love the idea of playing this game this way. And I mean, you look at modern RPGs, like with Baldur's Gate 3 or with Veilguard, where you have like 10 people that you can pull from. And it's like, that is a comfortable size of people that you could say I can interact with, but maybe they're not always in my party, right? Like, you know, Heather been telling me about Veilguard, how she's walking around with 2 people all the time and they're having meaningful interactions. It's like, that's valuable to like the person who's like playing the game because they're like, oh, I'm having a good experience with just this, and it doesn't have to be. What if I could write interactions for 100 different people, right?
Right, because you're talking, at a certain point, either there isn't going to be that many interesting interactions, or you're talking 100 factorial, different interactions, which just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the game. And I think when we get into stuff where it's like, oh, we're going to promise that this game has like, you can get 900 hours in it or 100 hours of meaningful gameplay and there's this and there's that. I think there is a part of what happens when, especially because we do get games that get announced before sometimes they're even staffed up to make
Right,
the game
right.
and they're trying to do hype and they're trying to do staffing, they're trying to do whatever. But at that point in the game making process, you don't know. You say an idea, it sounds very cool. Then you try to enact the idea, and then you find out how it doesn't work or how it does
It's like,
work.
why-
And suddenly you're like, we can't do
This is
that.
a brilliant idea. Why has nobody tried this before?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I see.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of work or not possible in the current hardware.
I mean, I do kind of remember, the transition. I don't know. Maybe that's the transition from, from child to adult, is when the pure length of a game is not the selling point anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
It's when I remember seeing games that were like, on the back of the box for like some like a JRPG or something. It would be like 200 hours without side quests.
And you're just like, nope.
And like, but when I was a kid, I was like, oh man, the value.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah, because as a kid too, you generally get like maybe one game a year,
Right, yeah.
if you're lucky, or maybe two because your birthday or Christmas or whatever, and you know that game's got to last. So you want a game that you're excited about that could go for hundreds of hours. And now we're kind of over inundated with games. We have some money to buy games, or they're on sale so often you can buy the 100-hour RPGs real cheap by the time you get to them.
I mean, like playing Breath of the Wild, I have 200 hours in that game, and I can definitely say that half of that might be meaningful game time, and the other half is just meaningfully fucking around.
But
Which is fine.
yeah, and that's
That's a
great,
different form of
but
relaxation.
but that wasn't the length of the game wasn't the selling point.
Correct.
Yeah.
And often you do end up spending a lot of time in games. I have games in my Steam library that I have multiple 100 hours in.
Yeah.
But that wasn't why I bought them.
Yeah, I've definitely listened to a bunch of podcasts where someone will be trying to sell their friends on the podcast this game that they've just played because they're very excited about it. And sometimes the first thing they'll do is like, dudes, this game, 5 hours. And everyone's like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
It's short, it wins. Yeah.
I have time for that.
Anyway, so yeah, hopefully. I mean, I played Chrono Trigger back in the day. I haven't played Chrono Cross, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game.
Yeah.
Excellent music,
Yes.
as you might guess from the
Many
like
people
Radio
also said
Wasabi
that.
brought up that about Chrono Cross as well.
From the-
music's very good in all these games.
the all-star cast who put it together. So, I mean, I'm excited for maybe they'll do something cool. We shall see. Niantic there were rumors about them getting bought out. There've been rumors for a couple weeks now,
Yeah.
and nobody quite knew who, but there was this idea that like they were worth ridiculously, this like $3.5 billion,
Yeah.
which seems very high for for a mobile game.
Yes.
But then you realize that there's sort of all this extra stuff that's sort of
Oh,
with it.
yes.
Not only other mobile games, but but actually just the technology that they've developed
Yeah.
is worth
And
a
the
lot.
sheer database, the size of the database they have created of all of this positional data worldwide is also massively important to certain interested parties.
There's certainly a conspiratorial bent that one could take with something like this.
Yep.
Who knows what the actual
I did
end
think
result
it was
is?
interesting that I believe they're keeping Ingress, which was their.
They're keeping Ingress.
I thought they were keeping Ingress,
Well, it didn't sound like they were selling it.
and they were also keeping Peridot.
Really?
I thought that they like.
Huh.
I
But
thought
to me,
they-
that kind of sounded more like nobody wanted to buy Peridot.
So the company Niantic didn't actually get bought. They bought just all the
games.
IP out of it, but the company is
I
still
thought
there.
they kept the IP for Ingress and
Well, 'cause, like-
Peridot. I thought that's what they.
But like the company, so Niantic still exists as a company, or the Niantic itself wasn't bought. They just bought all the IP.
I
out
believe
of
they
it?
just bought all the IP and stuff.
Well,
Interesting.
Julian
Or
says,
something.
I thought they sold the entire games department, and that might be what happened here, where it's like Niantic Spatial is still a thing that Niantic is working on. That,
Right.
that was part of the
Yeah,
story.
but
So
I thought
think
they kept
Niantic,
the IP for.
So
That's interesting.
Then they may
Aggressive
have.
Peridot.
It might also be that nobody was
But
that
again,
interested
I
in
don't
buying
think
it.
anyone cared about buying that IP.
Yeah, and I like that, like, in the way it's like the Saudi Arabian government is like, we are definitely now part owners of Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom and like all these kind of things. Ignoring that, just talking about like Scopely owning that stuff. That's interesting to me because that means that Niantic said we are selling these products which we have made in conjunction with the Pokemon Company and with Nintendo. And that means that the Pokemon Company and Nintendo were probably like, we are okay with you selling those things to another company and having them look after these from now on. And that, because I imagine if they weren't okay with it, they might have spoke up and said, we are not interested in you like turning the licenses over to somebody else.
Depends on how the contracts are.
Potentially.
Because it's just not Nintendo, right? The other one that they sold over was Monster Hunter Now, which is Capcom.
Yeah, and so the same thing where it's like, were all these companies like, well, as long as the game keeps operating, we don't care what game company is operating it?
I mean,
don't know.
yeah, I don't know how these contracts work. You would think that once the license has been given, that's that can be resold or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we shall see what comes out of that. Although, anecdotally, I've certainly seen not only among sort of the people here in the office who used to play Pokemon Go, or people I know who used to play Pokemon Go, or things I've seen online. This definitely has been a bit of the like, okay, this is enough for me to get off my butt and finally actually.
Yeah.
Either close or like transfer
all my Pokemon.
All my Pokemon.
Creighton did say, he's like, I kind of want to just move all my Pokemon out of Pokemon Go and move them to Pokemon Home, but also
abandon ship.
Yeah,
abandon ship.
He's not playing Pogo anymore. He said, and I was like, oh,
yeah. I mean, a lot of people just naturally drifted off of it.
Yeah.
And then we also had that story a few weeks back where Niantic had said something about how this information could be used in a military sense or some sort of weird like thing where a lot of people went, ew, and all bumped off then. I mean, there's been different stories that have made people bump off, but...
I mean, I'm because there's on the one hand, it's like, man, I would sure hate for a government who has designs on all of that AI spatial, like not AI data, sorry, all that spatial data that's been accumulated. I'd hate for like governments who have like sinister motives who are thinking of that. And I'm like, that could be every government as far as I'm concerned. And I'm like, boy, but you know what? I especially hate the fact that it all belongs to one company who the only people they have to answer to are the shareholders. And if I want to have a voice in telling them, please don't sell this to nations that are going to do terrible shit with it, I have to buy stock to tell them this. I can't just call my MP and be like, hey, I don't want you to fucking do that. But
yeah.
The Maricat mentions that Scopely is already, like, even if you are a big Pokemon Go fan,
right,
and are still an active player, this is also not a great thing because Scopely is known for rather aggressive monetization, which people, already Pokemon Go has been, the bloom is off the whatever on that.
Yeah, it has been for quite some time.
They've definitely started pushing the monetization harder.
Off the Bellsprout? The bloom is off the Bellsprout?
Something like that, yeah.
Or the gloom?
The gloom is off the Bellsprout.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now that's also interesting because we know that based on Nintendo talking about like with Dragalia Lost and with DNA, who was, I think, we were working on that. And the years ago when they had come forward and said, we could have made so much more money off of this if Nintendo had said, yeah, it's cool for you to monetize the hell out of this shit. So I have to wonder if Pikmin Bloom, if there's going to be an attempt to try to like monetize the hell out of that, if that's Scopely's thing, and whether Nintendo will be like, no, we're canceling this license, you can't make this anymore kind of idea. Or if the same thing will try to happen with Pogo, and whether the Pokemon Company, with a lot of push from Nintendo from behind it will be like, we don't want you to monetize this any more than it already is, even if it already has been monetized to a point where it's like, boy, that seems a lot more than we thought it would be.
I think the difference is that I think with the Dragalia Lost and stuff that they've done with DNA, I'm not sure that that's a license agreement so much as they're working with Nintendo to do those things, as opposed to a lot of these other things might just be licenses.
Yeah, and then I have to wonder,
because you get a different kind of amount of control over certain projects when you have contracts set up in different ways, right?
Yeah, it definitely does depend that Niantic could have been like, we're developing this thing, and Nintendo wasn't, or rather the Pokemon Company wouldn't be thinking about how far is monetization going to be taken, which seems silly. It absolutely feels like somebody at the Pokemon Company would have been like, hey, let's talk about monetization for just a minute. Let's talk about how we don't want you to be shitty about that. But I don't know. Maybe the Pokemon Company is okay with more aggressive monetization.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon hasn't necessarily shied away from heavy monetization.
Yeah,
They're definitely into selling stuff, right? So,
and yeah, as Mui Pigeon in the chat says, maybe this is nice. All the people who were the OG Ingress players who got like pushed out by, I feel like Ingress feels like the people who were really into the original version of like Fortnite.
Oh,
the
yeah.
like the Fortnite like base defense thing. It's like you were playing this game that was super fun, maybe not that super popular, but cool.
Yeah, you liked it.
And then it got kind of taken over by this so much more ridiculously hugely popular version of it.
Yeah.
To the extent that the company making the game completely focused their resources on that.
I did play Ingress
So
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
maybe you can go back.
I fell off because, I don't know, the constant defending territory thing felt kind of exhausting to me. But I will say for the few months that I was playing it, a lot of the people in the local community were actually very nice people. Like, I found like message boards and stuff where a lot of them would not just meet to get together to
Defend.
Do things within their teams, because you pick a side, right? But often there were people who were like, oh, I can't lately because I got to get groceries and I don't have access to a car. And most of them were like, I'll give you a ride and we'll do whatever. And I'm like, this
That's
seems
super
like
cool.
a really nice community. There's probably some really hardcore ones who may be a little scarier, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Overall, I
So
thought they were kind of nice people.
So yeah, they could go back and actually, what I will be interested. I wonder if, pure speculation, but because originally there was a whole thing about how Pokemon Go, all the location data for Pokemon Go came from Ingress originally,
Yeah.
Yep.
and presumably has been updated and changed and stuff. And I would assume that the Pokemon Go stuff filters back into Ingress, as the maps get more developed and things.
Yeah.
But if Ingress is staying with Niantic and Pokemon Go is going to,
To Scopely.
to Scopely, maybe at a certain point, their maps and their data will start diverging.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, though it does say that Scopely's also invested in Niantic Spatial.
Right.
And maybe there is a thing there where they're like, the game front end is what those guys will be working on. And it will all integrate, like we might end up seeing a thing in the background that says made using Niantic Spatial, like that kind of thing. And maybe all of that stuff will filter its way back into those databases. That it's like it's built on the back end of this massive amount of data. That could be interesting.
Anyway, let's move on to fast Super Nintendos.
Yeah.
This is
I got super excited by this.
one of these really weird stories.
Yeah.
Akin to speedrunning is a community full of all sorts of weird things. Somebody in the comments was mentioning that there are speedrunning techniques that are used that are like actually monitored and are sort of well-known speedrunning techniques that involve putting the console on a hot plate
Oh yeah.
in order to encourage some sort of glitch to
Effect,
happen. Yeah.
There's I saw on Mastodon the other day. I think Foon had said, "What if you could make a thing that could like if you're emulating this or whatever, or maybe you can do it as a speed bot. What if you could actually beat Mario faster by changing out the cartridge during an executing, like while it's trying to execute a command? What if you could actually like change out the cartridge fast enough while it's trying to execute a command so that it reads another piece of data from another cartridge, and that means that it takes you to the end of Super Mario, right? And it's like you could do that tool assisted in an emulator. Definitely, you can have something be like, I can interrupt what's going on at a certain point to make that happen. And I'm like, probably that seems crazy.
Aren't there speedruns that do that kind of thing though? Because the system, whatever system it's built on, kind of
has like a cache.
Or something.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely have been. I don't know if I would call those speedruns. Like usually those are more like just like cool glitches.
Yeah.
I think using a completely different game is usually not okay for a speedrun.
Because I saw a thing about it was like you put Legend of Zelda in or something, you pull it out and you put NES Golf in, and then you do that briefly, and then you put a Zelda back in or something, and then it actually like lets you skip a whole whatever. It's crazy, but yeah. That's what they were talking about.
Arbitrary
code execution. Yes.
Arbitrary code execution.
But it's only an emulation, obviously. But it was a really cool idea.
But the interesting thing about this, and actually, I was talking to Ian a little bit about this during Tinker Tailor.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe just beforehand. I don't know if it was actually online, but he was saying, so as you say in the story, the actual clock speed of the processor isn't changing.
Yeah, the CPU itself is locked.
It's the ceramic oscillator that runs the sound that's changing.
In the audio processing unit, yeah.
So theoretically, it's not actually helping you with the speedrun too much.
Not at all.
Except that some games, like during the loading portion of the game, it's got to wait for the sound to load.
Right.
So apparently they have seen in certain circumstances, it can make a difference. Now the difference, even but again, remember we're talking about 20 to 200 hertz.
Yeah.
On a megahertz machine.
Yes.
Right. So even at the extremes, we're talking less than a frame of difference. So speedrunners are like, this is just kind of a cool thing. It doesn't actually.
Well, I mean, if it's not a reliable thing, right? Like speedrunners usually like something that has reliability too.
Yeah.
Like even if it's like something that only happens in a certain thing, so you have to reload or whatever, but it's something you want to be kind of reliable to.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than a thing that's like, well, if it's warm enough, it maybe gives you an extra frame.
Well, and also it depends on your particular console too, different consoles. And I'm assuming it also is probably an indication that like, it seems like a good indication that component is failing.
Yeah.
Like theoretically, it can't just do that forever. It can't keep going faster and faster and faster.
At some point in the future, the Super Nintendo will go so fast that when you try to turn it on and it doesn't, it's just completed the game for you.
It'll just go bzz, done.
I did think it was interesting seeing because they're talking about like sample rate is how they're evaluating, is this oscillator oscillating faster, and I'm like, so trying to devise, it's from like back in the day. I remember where it's like, oh, if I open an audio file that's 44.1 kilohertz, and I set it to say playback at 48,000. Like, instead of 44.1, play back at 48K. You can hear the difference, right? It's like playing a 33 1/3 record at 78 or that kind of speed. And it's like everything gets faster because the sampling rate is higher. And I've always had a problem like wrapping my mind around the things get faster or higher pitched or whatever happens to them. And it's like, okay, is it just that because the sample rate is higher that it's like, well, that's means that it's not that we're reading data any faster. It means that we're playing it back we're playing it back quicker, or that we're playing it back at a higher pitch because it's miscalibrated. And it's things I've never been able to really understand about what that means. And therefore I'm like, if this is just everything plays back higher, then does that actually mean that you get through an audio sample faster?
Well, it's higher.
I guess
It's faster, therefore higher pitch.
yeah. So
if you
yeah,
turn on your Super Nintendo and it sounds like a kettle is boiling,
yeah.
That's bad.
maybe
Yeah.
you want to unplug that.
I think the other thing also though is that it's like, okay, like the Super Nintendo was 21 megahertz.
Yeah.
Because that's as fast as they could make it
Yes.
with the technology and the price and everything.
That
they
is
wanted
its
to do.
CPU. Yeah. Yeah.
If they had been able to make a 22 megahertz CPU for the same price, they
Right.
would have.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it would be better.
Exactly.
But the oscillator for the audio is 24.576 megahertz
Yeah.
clock. I don't think that's just. I think that's that for a reason. I don't think that's just the fastest they could make it.
I think that was like, this is a part that comes off the shelf that integrates with our entire path of how we're doing audio. Yeah.
But like for audio, having that oscillator go faster is not necessarily beneficial.
No.
Like
Yeah.
that's not sort of the limiting factor.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the fact that they were like, we're going to use an audio processor that depends on a ceramic oscillator. It's like, you could have, because I've seen this when I've been watching people like rebuild old PCs and stuff, where they're like, so I need to increase the bus speed on this system, but this is a system that doesn't have selectable bus speeds. What it does have, it has a quartz crystal in like a metal casing, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the quartz crystal that runs at 33 megahertz. I'm going to put in one that runs at 40 megahertz, and then that's the new clock speed of the system, and it does all its multipliers based on that. So now the bus speed has gone up from 33 to 40 to 40, that kind of idea. That was a completely legitimate way to change that on really old motherboards.
I was going to say, that's amazing that works.
Yeah, this is like 46
Is
H
it
motherboards.
it's basically overclocking.
It is overclocking.
Literally, but by literally swapping the.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
board itself is like, how do I figure out how fast my bus speed is? I look at the crystal, and then I do math based on the crystal, and that's how I know how fast my bus is and how fast my CPU runs and everything else. So if you just change the crystal out, you can make it run faster.
So if I get myself a crystal that I can wear, I can run real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
And I don't know if the CPU for the Super Nintendo has a separate crystal, or if the crystal's on board, because it's like it's a 16-bit 6502 variant, which I thought was very interesting to find that out, that it's basically a MOS 6502, but it is the 16-bit version of that. And I don't know if they still use separate clocks at that point or not, but you could change out the clock in your CPU or for your Super Nintendo, technically, if it had a separate crystal, and be like, I want to overclock this thing. I drop in something that runs at faster.
I mean, people
don't
have
know.
definitely overclocked Super Nintendo. I don't know if that's how they did it.
I don't know if they do it that way
anyway.
either.
And then the final story that we did before the outro, the final story we did was talking about this.
There were two parts to it,
Yeah,
really.
this story actually had three different short stories, kind of loosely connected together. But firstly, we're talking about this tech demo that got leaked. It was not intended to be a public thing.
Yeah, there's a reason they don't really publicly show off videos that are probably meant for prototyping or to try to show a concept that they're trying to get approved of.
But this tech demo of Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizons Aloy doing completely computer generated animation and speech and understanding. Like it's sort of connecting between sort of ChatGPT kind of being able to understand an input and then doing the voice synthesis and then also the animation stuff. The actual video is the actual like in-game models and stuff, I think.
Right.
But the animation is generated by the AI system. Not only did now actually, I did find, assuming it's still here, as of an hour ago. Yeah, here it is. I did find a still available version of this video. It's been taken down in a lot of places.
This
But-
is somebody who has like 13 subscribers on their channel, so
But yeah, we can quickly take a look at this.
Right. So
I don't know about that hat, my guy.
watch this video never exist again.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm not.
Not sending audio.
I'm sending the wrong audio. How do you?
There's a weird cut on YouTube where this suddenly doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Now you'll know why.
Yeah. We'll just look at a little bit
I
here.
mean, I understand why people.
Hi, Aloy. It's been a while. How are you?
Hello. I'm managing all right. Just dealing with a sore throat. How have you been?
Me too.
I'm doing great, thanks. I wanted to ask you some questions about Horizon, and I was wondering if that is okay.
Of course, feel free to ask your questions about Horizon.
Oh, I don't like any of this.
No,
Thank you very much. So,
it's very weird.
I heard you are looking for your mother, and I was wondering if you can tell us a little more about that.
Certainly. I discovered I'm a clone of Dr. Elizabeth Sobek.
Spoilers, Alloy. Jeez.
All right.
You can't.
Anyway,
Oh.
let's not
Yeah.
do too much more of that.
Oh,
Anyway,
Yeah.
as a lot of people have pointed out, when it comes right down to it, it's not actually that impressive. Like, this kind of tech has been demoed lots of times before. Part of the interesting thing about this is the sort of integration between the different AIs. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's got the language, natural language recognition, to understanding, to speech, to voice synthesis, to doing the animations. Although the animations are really making the mouth move in strange ways.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I know they script these things. Not like, I mean, the AI is not supposed to be scripted, but the person asking the questions probably has a script they're reading,
Right.
right? Just because nobody talks like that except for people who are like
Doing a demo.
trying to do some sort of, I don't know, we've called you down to the local police station to answer these questions.
What I actually hate the most about this, though, is that it's like I'm having a conversation with this game character, and what I hate the most is in this conversation with a game character, they seem to be aware that they're just a video game character and they're completely cool with it.
And
And I'm like, no, I don't. I think that if I was talking to somebody who is like has
Well,
their
it's-
mindset established in this one world and that this is who they are, that they'd be like, what is going on? Who is talking to me? Like, it'd be very like kind of like I'm hearing voices in my head. I don't understand. And then you have a camera to be like, oh, I'm this. Is like, who are you and what am I seeing? Like
I feel like if that was you, you would have to get past that aspect to do any useful demos.
exactly. Because Hatsune Miku, somebody brought up Miku. I'm like,
Yeah,
Hatsune Miku
'cause
knows
every
that
plot-
she is a computer being and she would
Every-
be fine with it.
Well, anytime they do anything with plot with Miku, it's typically she realizes she's a computer.
But it's also
She'd like
that
to get out.
like all of her sort of actions and responses and stuff were just like, we're just like sort of a generic chatbot,
yeah.
which it is, as opposed to actually embodying any of the character of Alloy
Right.
or Aloy, or
That's-
however you pronounce it.
That's
Yeah.
we learned that from Next Generation, where Geordi was like, "No, I need to put an actual personality into Leia Brahms, so this can get weird."
Yep.
Yeah, otherwise it's not weird enough.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
weird
we've got
enough
so
yet.
many sci-fi things that already tell us the perils of this kind of.
It's true.
Anyway, so Graham used a couple. He sort of combined a couple stories together as kind of a jumping off point to be talking about AI in different ways. One of them, the other one being that the SAG-AFTRA and their continuing negotiations with various companies and things, which is it's an interesting sort of form of union action, because it's difficult. Like, it's not like it's a solid like no video games are having voices
Right.
because they're on strike. They're doing it in a more nuanced way, I guess you'd say. Like games that were in production before the strike continued. There's a lot of games that a lot of development companies have signed interim agreements with them, and so they're continuing to do it. And a lot of companies don't use SAG-AFTRA talent, so
Yeah,
they don't do it.
there's also been some companies that basically just move all their voice actor work to a different country that doesn't do it.
There's a lot of there's
fun.
a lot of the. I mean, because from SAG-AFTRA's perspective, it's like they're cracking down a lot more on people who are union actors and saying you cannot take non-union work while we're in the midst of this thing. That's coming up too.
Yeah, and so I mean, there are questions about, and this is not just a SAG-AFTRA thing, but a thing with, especially with a lot of the, the sort of, I guess they're kind of guild style unions, in where the Screen Actors Guild, which is obviously part of SAG-AFTRA, but also other guilds for professionals, where part of the power of the guild, of the group, of the union, is that as many people as possible are part of
Collective action.
action. But in order to make that work, sometimes you get into this bad situation where people are sort of being forced to be part of the union that they don't want to be part of the union. So there's arguments to be made in certain ways, but it's the thing that I definitely am for is the big thing that SAG-AFTRA is fighting for is this making sure that AI that performances, because they're not just doing voice actors, there's also performance actors, so motion capture people and that kind of stuff. They're saying that performances cannot be used for training AI stuff without very specific contracts being done up. And apparently one of the things that sort of loopholes that is trying to be in the latest negotiations is that it's like, okay, we won't do that, but we have all this audio and video and performances from before we did all these agreements. We can still train on that, right? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
I feel the thing is, like with Hoyo versus Hole, like with the Zenless Zone Zero situation, we talked about that at the end of whatever. It's like, I feel bad for the VAs, obviously, but what we don't talk about is how bad it must be for the weird homunculuses that they have doing all the mocap, because I've never seen anything in my life. They must be kept in cages because they're always doing this stuff whenever they're talking, and I don't know why, but it's like there's all this going on whenever they're talking in Zenless Zone Zero, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, the mocap people must get extremely tired, but they're probably not real humans anyway, so spare some thought for them.
Yeah, you watched Dance.
We watched it
video?
together.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It
was a real good one.
Zenless Zone Zero is miserable to watch for animation. If you're like, oh, you know what? People, when they talk, they're always moving, right? Yeah, you're right. They're always moving.
I mean, I have seen some people film themselves against green screens doing animation styles, and it's really weird to watch an actual human being move. In those methods,
and I've seen people. There's a woman who was doing a lot of stuff with like just acting like even like a Pixar movie or whatever. Right?
Or like Mavis from Hotel Transylvania.
And it's that, but it is that thing that like, and it's part of the talent of an animator is that you do that what we want to see and what makes it kind of work and avoid that uncanny valley stuff is to have that sort of exaggerated
Yeah.
actions. and
Because
things.
if it was literally that somebody was like in a Pixar movie, if like Woody walked in and he was walking like Tom Hanks and he kind of just came in and he stopped and started talking to whomever, maybe gestured with a hand, maybe he
Yeah.
didn't. But there's like the mild thing of the head's just moving just a little bit. The shoulders are moving just back and forth or whatever. You can kind of see Woody breathing. Everybody would freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like this is wrong.
But there's I remember like in the first, I think it was on like the very first Toy Story, like the DVD extras. They did some like early animation tests of like almost basically just like a wireframe version of Woody.
Right.
And it was like, I think somebody had like trashed his car or something.
Okay.
And so he's just like there. He's like, "You got my car!" Like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it shows,
yeah.
and it's like even though it's a wireframe, it looks like Woody. Like
Right.
it moves like Woody in the movie, and you can almost recognize that that's who that character is.
Right.
You know that character isn't Buzz or one of the other characters because that animation is so. But that also isn't the way a person moves.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
I have never watched Polar Express, but people mention it whenever this kind of comes up. It's always like, oh yeah, Polar Express. I'm like, I should maybe watch it someday just to really get a sense.
Speaking of
how
speaking
weird
of
that
Uncanny
is.
Valley, yeah. And finally,
You want to watch Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within?
coming soon to Mortal Kombat, it's Madame Bo. They ostensibly this video, the video they put out was to show off the Terminator T1000, who, by the way, is actually looks pretty awesome in the game.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He does a pretty sweet job of and has all sorts of cool moves and stuff. But Mortal Kombat has these things. They have these cameo fighters,
Right.
but with a K because
Combat.
the NetherRealm doesn't actually have any C's on their keyboards. They're like a little bit of an assist character. Like they'll just come in and like do a few little like you push a button or do a special move and they'll come in.
Right.
And they put a bunch of characters that aren't, or they put like some characters that like aren't in the game or like characters that are from previous Mortal Kombat games that they didn't bring forward but
okay.
are there. It's almost like Smash Brothers trophies or something.
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
a place
yeah.
to put little extra people.
They're assists. Yeah. Makes sense.
They added Madame Bo. I don't know whether I think she has some backstory that they made and stuff. I think she's like Cyrax's mom or something. Sector's mom.
Yeah, Sector's mom.
And I'm pretty sure Sector is a robot, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, maybe he was a human at one point.
I'm not sure fighting game lore stories is supposed to
But
make sense.
you see, she has. You saw in the little video clip there, just grabbing a guy and putting out a cigarette on his face, and then also just grabbing this is Mortal Kombat, the game where you pull up people's spines and things. This Chinese grandmother grabbing Shang Tsung, the guy who can shapeshift.
Yeah, and steal souls.
Yeah, grab him by his ear, pull him down, pick up her slipper, and just beat him on the face so hard that his head explodes.
Yeah. It's so like when we were watching, we're like, that isn't a reference to the woman from Kung Fu Hustle, right? Like to the landlady, and it's like, well, no, because that was not her. Like her. Special,
Yeah, her
whatever.
thing was screaming at people.
Yeah,
but
it had such attitude, like that. Like seeing that, we were like, that definitely feels like a Stephen Chow character somehow. And it turns out that no, it was not. It was just something they had invented for Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, but the stereotype feels so universal. So yeah.
Anyway, it's a lot of fun. I fondly remember when I think Graham and I were playing Mortal Kombat 9 or something. I think we were playing it, and we were playing it on stream for some
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
I forget why, but
Streaming was hot.
we figured out that Mortal Kombat had that version of Mortal Kombat had like, you know, there was like stage event or like things that would like there was like boxes and things on the stage that you could like smash a guy through.
Right.
And there's also sometimes that you could like there'll be like something in the background. There would be like a telephone pole or something in the background that you could like grab and smash somebody with.
Oh, okay.
And we figured out that one stage there's just like a guy in the background that you could just grab and smash.
Yeah.
And so at that point that was like all we wanted to do is just take this person from the background and hit the opponent with them.
I just want that to be a cameo fighter that just like this guy, this
that
weird
guy
guy walks out and then you just pick him up and you use him to beat the other character with, and then he just gets back up and he walks off.
I mean, it sounds like something they would do.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it really does.
let's move on
Yeah,
to
were there any other stories this week?
a couple of other stories. World of Warcraft
Still exists?
is going to be, and in an upcoming
30th
expansion,
anniversary.
they're going to be building up, they're going to be pushing out a whole like housing system.
Wait, they're
Wow.
getting houses now? They're becoming Final Fantasy 14?
Oh, no.
So you're going to be able to have a house and decorate it in all sorts of fancy ways.
Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah. Because because
Only if Donald Duck shows up in World of Warcraft will I...
but the one of the cool things that I thought about is that in the demo they were showing off, it's like there's like basic mode where you can like put down all your stuff and there's like a grid
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
that you can like put down various things and move them up and down and attach. You can like attach things on top of a shelf and then move those things together, rotate stuff around, and it all stays with the plane of the thing that you're doing and stuff. So it looks good.
Okay.
But then there's an advanced mode where you can just like move things. There's no grid. You can move things. You can clip things through other things.
Oh, okay.
You can do all sorts of weird stuff.
Okay,
And so
okay.
the things that people figure out how to, you've got however many, there's however many pieces of furniture and tchotchkes or whatever that they've made for the game for you to put around in your house.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to see some of the like horrible abominations people will make by like
Now,
splitting, putting things inside other
yeah.
things, and
Have they said if
all
this is going
sorts
to
of
be a
ridiculous-
system where if you don't like, there's a certain amount of housing space, so if you don't get in on the housing thing, because like Final Fantasy 14
Yeah.
has that kind of like there's a limited
I don't know if they've talked
thing,
about that. Yeah.
or is
If
there a
there's real estate
Tanuki I'm
system.
supposed to sell, like pay money to in
I
order
think-
to expand my house?
Yeah, like I think like if you want a house, that when
They've-
you show up at the housing office, they assign you a house and you can just pay back. You pay it back whenever you want.
They said there will be no land rushes and housing will be instanced. So that'll be good.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
But there'll be limits on how big you can make your house, and it'll be upsetting because you want a larger basement or 2 rooms in your basement, but you can't have them. You can only have one slightly large room.
And then you have to take over your neighbor's house.
I
in order to have
guess.
a bigger house.
I mean, it is called World of Warcraft. I assume that I can take over someone else's house.
It would be super funny if the officer at the bank or whatever, or like the housing office that hands shit out, was just dressed up like a Tanuki. That would be funny as hell. You don't have to call him Tom Nook, but
Or at least maybe had a dog named Isabel.
yeah, that'd be good.
Hey, do you sometimes wish that you could play Jackbox games, but you are away from your computer?
Yeah, maybe you're in a hotel somewhere.
Don't people just use their phones?
But you're also away from your also away from your phone. I don't
Do
know.
I have no technology whatsoever?
I think you need your phone to play the Jackbox games still.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Is
So you
this
need-
Anyway,
is how I'm playing Jackbox around a campfire with no technology or in sight.
No. Look, Jackbox is going to be available on smart TVs. Is what this is.
Nice.
So you can basically apparently they're using they're using Sony's.
Don't connect your
Game-
smart TV to the internet. Jackbox is
Game
not worth
stri-
it. You have something else that can probably do it.
They're using Sony's, or not
Gross.
Sony, Amazon, their AWS Game Lift system, which is sort of like a game streaming thing. So you'll be able to play Jackbox games on just like any regular smart TV.
Neat.
So you can just
What's that going to cost me?
initial version of the service will offer a small collection of ad-supported games for free. As the service matures, we intend to offer our entire catalog of games for a subscription fee.
So there's going to be like
Subscription fee?
Haas makes a good point, right? That smart TVs have terrible lag when it comes to apps that are built into it. But depending on the game that you are playing, their lag might not be that big a problem, or they might build in extended timers, or they might like do other things to kind of help with that. And you're still probably also in need of a smartphone to provide your answers.
Right. This is the TV's acting as like the central computer in Jackbox, and so everyone will still need a thing to do it.
I don't want this, and I hate this from a point of view of that it's just more ads and it's shitty performance and it's whatever else. But I love Jackbox, and I love that they are going to get their games out to more people, perhaps. And there's no matter what we say, there are just tons of people out there who are like, I have already turned my smart TV stuff on, and I'm already doing my stuff only through my smart TV. And boy, my parents are part of that category, and I've been trying to get them.
Your parents aren't going to play Jackbox.
But I've managed to move them onto an Apple TV, which is nice. But if you want to play Jackbox on an Apple TV, you're going to have to pay for it through the App Store, that kind of idea. And I'm just like, I know there's lots of people out there who've already turned on their smart TVs to all the terrible shit, and ads are coming through and whatever else. It's like, well, at least you can do something that's really fun than just getting advertised to in one way. You might as well have a fun game to do that. I think that is interesting. So, yeah, I don't want it. I don't want any part of it, but I am actually kind of glad they're doing it. I think it's a neat idea.
Of the things that you can have on your smart TV, it's probably
Less objectionable.
Less objectionable.
Yeah, you're already getting screwed.
Which,
so.
considering the content of some Jackbox games, is something. Speaking of things that are objectionable, I don't know. Destiny 2, speaking of things that are monetized, maybe? I don't know. Fit your own transition in here.
Do the work for me.
Destiny 2 is having a bit of whoopsie.
Oh, no.
So they're doing an event called Right of the Nine.
Okay.
All right. Who's the 9?
Well, we don't know because the event doesn't start for another 3 weeks.
Oh.
Unfortunately, a bunch of loot from the event has started dropping.
Wait. No. I can just get some pre-loot?
It's a prelude to loot. So the problem though is that the stuff isn't done. So
oh no.
Here, so the guns
that's
are
good.
things are dropping, but
Is that not what it's not supposed to look like this?
It's got they
I
haven't
like
got
this.
the textures on them yet.
Oh my.
No, I kind of think these are pretty great.
Just so
I guess it's just it's just got some
just-
default repeating
It
texture on it.
kind of looks like somebody tried to wrap a Christmas gift and got really good at it, and then they're like, "Yeah, I got you a gun."
They should once this event actually comes out, they should 100% do special editions of the guns
these
in
are
the
good
event
shaders, yeah.
with versions of these weirdly.
I like the way these look. They look dumb, but
You
I
got
like
me
it.
for my birthday. Gun.
I'm just really
Don't
good at
unwrap it.
wrapping. Can you imagine being able to gift wrap something that precisely?
I mean, the Maricat mentions hydro wrapping, right? And it's like the kind of when you do that dip where you're like, I need to put a thing on something, and you're like, right, they have that big tank that you dip the thing in and you pull out, and it's like magic because it doesn't feel like that should work at all. But God, that's funny.
Yeah. So I don't know what the they're saying we are aware of an issue where early incomplete versions of Rite of the Nine dungeons were accessible. Access to Rite of the Nine activities will be disabled as soon as possible, and all related rewards will be disabled for use until further notice. Content is still in the oven, and we're looking forward to completed versions being released at a later date. We apologize for the hiccup. So somebody pushed to production rather than pushed to the testing server or something.
Probably that seems the most likely.
Maybe this is just what happens when you have when you basically commit a team to trudge through making a video game for like 10 or 15 years.
I mean, as people in the chat pointed out, also when you lay off a whole bunch of your people.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you don't get things
Whose
done.
fault is this? Whose responsibility was it? Dave.
We
Fire whoever is responsible.
You fired him last
6
week.
months
Yeah.
ago. You fired that guy 6 months. That's why it happened.
That's why his mug isn't in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
We trashed that.
Yeah,
No,
well.
I assume that every gaming dev studio has a kitchen in it, like just a small one, not like a really good one with maybe a sink and a coffee machine, and like just a cupboard where everybody's got a mug with their name scribbled on it with Sharpie, and then when that person leaves, they smash the
They
mug.
smashed the
Yeah.
mug?
Yeah.
Ooh.
The producers have everybody's mug in their
Yeah.
office with a name on
Coincidentally,
it.
did you want to like start doing that here, where we all like get a mug and we like write our names on them, and then if somebody leaves, we smash it out in the parking lot?
Like ceremonially, like are
Yeah.
they there when it happens?
Yeah,
They smash their own mug?
I think they get to smash it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's probably
Or
fine.
maybe if they quit, they get to smash it, but if we fire them, we get to smash it.
Right.
In front of them.
Right. James will just
That's
be
how-
asked to
that's
quit
how-
every fucking week.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
So I don't know what the background, nationality, or whatever of the person who wrote this story for PC Gamer is, but I love this sentence. This is not the biggest botch ever, but Bungie does have a history of biffing it with Destiny 2 exotic weapons.
Oh man, they are probably from England. Wow. Biffing it.
Yeah.
I mean that is a word that Graham will casually throw in the office as well, and he's listened to a lot of like
Yeah.
Around the Horn and whatnot. So yeah,
Well, what is it they say? Bully for you?
yeah. You were reading a thing recently about I forget it's Jason Schreier's book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a book he did called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
And it was talking about Destiny's like Bungie's kind of deal with the devil to make Destiny.
Because they got freed from Microsoft and then they got stuck in this.
Right, yeah. Uh-oh.
And they just like have been on this treadmill.
Right, because they bought themselves out from Microsoft and then went back to Sony, yeah.
because they were working with Activision. For
Yeah,
a while
they
too.
were working with Activision
Oh, right,
for a
yeah.
while, and then there's a point where like I think this book was published in like 2017 or 2018, so it's a little outdated in terms of more stuff has occurred.
But just you explain to me like how
some of it's fun to read.
for them to make Destiny, and it was like the contract was make Destiny, make expansions, then make Destiny 2, then make
Make
expansions,
expansion.
and that was the entire contract. And it's like, oh no, they didn't realize at the time that meant you will be
Yeah.
on a code treadmill for at least a decade trying to make all this shit
Yeah.
work.
I've learned one key thing from this book. Everybody seems to think that everything will take less time and work than it really will. And everyone's got a big idea. And everybody who makes a Kickstarter fucks it up by overpromising,
Yep.
including the people who think that they know how long something should take to do.
Yeah.
What are two great tastes that taste great together?
Strawberries and cream.
How about Baldur's Gate 3 and Stardew Valley?
Okay, sure. Which one is going into which one?
Baldur's Village is a Stardew Valley mod.
I'm here for
Somebody-
this.
okay.
Yes.
Going. So a village has recently been built north of Pelican Town, and the new residents seem rather unusual.
So this is like an add-on.
Yeah. This is a mod or an add-on.
When
mod.
people
Yeah.
say mods, I kind of expect it to be like we replaced these characters with these other characters.
No, this is like a separate. Yeah,
Okay,
they
interesting.
made it as a separate village.
Okay.
You'll find the entrance to Baldur's Village at the top of the southern mountain map, right next to Linus's tent. As the name implied, Baldur's Village adds a totally new town to Stardew Valley, teeming with characters, locations, and events based in the Baldur's Gate 3 setting. Not only does the mod allow you, your Stardew Valley farmer, to interact with people like Karlach, Will, and Alfira, but includes a full romance storyline with Astarion.
Well, yeah.
But that's the only one.
That culminates in marriage. Is that the right? Is that, in your opinion, is that the right person to have this romance storyline
Damn
with?
it, I love
I mean, there's a
fanfic.
lot of them are really good. I'm not surprised it's Astarion, but like the
This
other ones
is,
are also pretty
Planned updates to Baldur's Village include romanceable Halcyon, as well as additional world building and background stories.
I
good.
just,
So Halsin's the druid who can turn into a bear.
Excellent.
I'm kind of just floored by the effort people will go to write fanfic.
I don't see Astarion as someone who wants to commit to marriage.
No, but that's fanfic, right? That's what makes this Twilight. That's what makes this 50 Shades of Grey, right? That's what this is. It's like I want to marry. I want my Stardew Valley character to marry Astarion. I'm like, you need to go to therapy.
Why?
No, they need to make
A video
No, it's like no,
mod
you need to
for
make a game. It's like
mod for.
you're right. Actually, that's probably pretty therapeutic on its own.
And then everybody can enjoy your desire for Stardew Valley.
For your character
Relationships.
to go to this thing, yeah.
I just don't think that equals you need to go to therapy.
Fair. That's fair.
Not that you shouldn't, but that you need to. There's a difference.
You need to discuss your feelings. Maybe that's
And they will.
and they will.
With the other fan community.
The rest of the fan community. It's true. I am being too aggressive. I apologize. I apologize.
I just think it's
Yeah.
It's fine if you don't want to. You haven't played Stardew Valley.
Correct.
You're not intending
And
to.
also didn't play Baldur's Gate, and you have played both.
Yes. And I find the idea of being like, oh, what if we added an extra island that incorporates this other game into this game? Pretty fascinating.
Yes, me too. But you also said you didn't think Astarion is marriageable material.
No.
You didn't
I mean,
say
he
that.
is a vampire.
No, okay, you did say that.
He's not really. You shouldn't marry vampires.
Fair.
Blood weddings are weird
So-
from what I understand.
Apparently, we have a new piece of vocabulary in the gaming world. Pulling a Concord.
Oh no!
No. Oh, wow,
I didn't-
you're going to be remembered forever for the...
I never wanted this to be a thing that would catch on.
Oh, that's going to haunt some devs for the rest of their lives.
Spectre Divide is a 3v3 shooter that came out 6 months ago, September 2024, and on PC, and it came out on PS5 and Xbox like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's being closed. So it was out for 6 months on PC, but it just came out
For
for consoles.
And then didn't last.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
So-
so they're saying, unfortunately, the Season 1 launch has not achieved the level of success we need to sustain the game and to keep Mountaintop afloat. So
Wait, what?
now, it's the name of the company.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. I thought it was maybe the name of the area in the game or something, and I was like, I don't...
Now, although I will say that, you know, the using of the term "Play Concord," I feel like part of that is the ridiculously huge budget
Right.
that went into Concord and the sort of massive promotional stuff,
Yeah. Oh, right. I still got to watch that TV series.
which this appears to be, you know, obviously it's been worked on for a long time, but a little bit of not as big as a investment into the game. Obviously, it's more of a sort of indie company making it, but yeah, unfortunately, they're closing down, and especially when it's like just doing all the work on the port. That seems, because it's got to be like, you've got to be able to know before 2 weeks out or whatever that the port is. It's like, I guess if you're most of the way through doing the port, it's like, well, we might as well finish this and maybe something will happen.
Yeah.
But unless it's going to happen fast, no. And then finally, are any of you in heavy corporate environment dealing with dealing with a lot of Microsoft products and enjoying Microsoft Copilot?
Okay. Are we a corporate environment? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
We have some Microsoft computers.
Yeah.
My
We use PCs.
My office is a corporate environment.
For streaming mostly.
But
I don't think we've used Copilot.
yeah, Microsoft Copilot is a specific aspect of the Microsoft sort of productivity suite, I guess.
Right.
And it's one of those things that has like gradually, like, it was like a thing. It was like its own. It's sort of
It was a feature.
Isn't it something we keep making fun of? Or at
Well,
least I see
it's-
other people making fun of?
It is something. It's sort of, in some ways, it kind of is like new Clippy. Like, it's basically trying to do that same role,
Don't
but
do Clippy dirty.
actually good. Like, it's trying to be, it's an AI assistant for stuff.
I liked
And
Microsoft, Bob, as a kid. Do not do Clippy dirty.
Yeah.
And as time has gone on, they've sort of integrated into more things. And so it'll be like Copilot, this with Copilot, which has sort of become like a meme. Like,
Right.
a new Microsoft product comes out and it'll be like, some people will be like, oh, it's that with Copilot.
This is like Copilot for Visual Basic, or Copilot for the search bar, or Copilot for Bing, or Copilot for itself, or
They
whatever.
do. Like, people realize that I
Copilot
just
for
like being
PowerShell.
alone, right? And I don't need a Copilot.
Okay. When I say Copilot is actually good, I mean it's using stuff to do more than like what Clippy did.
Right. Yes.
okay.
It is actually like, I can see what you're doing, and I can make bigger assumptions.
Yeah.
It's not like I see you're writing a letter. It's like, it's not.
I'm
that
not saying that it's
I see
beneficial in that.
I see that you're watching porn. Thanks.
Well, so they have now announced Copilot for gaming.
Yes, actually, I kind of remember this being mentioned.
Xbox insiders can get an early preview for it soon. So it's an AI-driven sidekick designed to be your personal gaming companion. So this is not, which is what I first thought it was like a thing for like NPC stuff in games.
Right.
That's not what this is.
Okay, what is
This is you can do stuff like, so the kinds of things it can do apparently are things like helping you out with games that like you're stuck in. Like, you can ask it to, and presumably it just like goes looking and looks up
Okay.
game facts for you, I guess.
All right. Yeah.
Does it
Interesting.
constantly do that thing that chat sometimes does where it's like, that thing over there, you missed that thing over there.
But that is what I have chat for. Like, when I play a video game, it's like, I tell them, it's like, hey, if I'm going to bypass a secret, I need you to say, secret coming up. Like, let me know that there's something that I might want to know about.
I ignore chat.
And it's like, I need you to couch all your advice in spoiler-free content. And I don't know if I could tell Copilot to do that. Right? I don't think I could tell it,
Probably
it's like,
not.
hey, am I going to miss anything here? It's like, nope. And then like 6 hours later, it's like, don't forget to pick this up when you were over in that other area. It's like, oh, I can't.
I assume the idea is more, it's supposed to be like when you're gaming and your friend's over and you're chatting and like,
they're like, "You
sometimes
Space Jump."
sometimes like, I mean, we do this. Sometimes you'll be stuck in a thing, but it's for a game I don't care about.
Yeah.
So I'll go look stuff up
Yes.
because then I don't care about spoilers, but you do. And then I can find you stuff, and that's great. But I don't think I want a computer to do that.
No, absolutely. And
Saying, so
not everyone can afford their own Twitch chat. Not in this day and age, not everyone can afford not to have their own Twitch chat. Go ahead.
saying one of the primary problems that they highlighted that Copilot for Gaming aims to solve is time management, to help players spend less time on tasks like searching, downloading, and updating, more time on what they love, playing games.
Alrighty, okay.
All of it is with one goal, to help you get in and play first, whether it's connecting players with games they're likely to enjoy. So it's got, recommendation stuff, reminding you where you left off in an old favorite. Copilot is set to make gaming with Xbox more seamless and personalized. There's an example scenario where players were presented or are using like natural language to, and then the system can, it's like, how do I do this jump or something?
Right.
And the system can take the context of the game. They can take the context of the game and where you are in the game and stuff and try to figure it out. It's not about the AI showing up to help you. It's about the AI showing up at the right moment. We really think about the experience we've built. It cannot be intrusive.
Oh, no.
And that's why engaging with features like this will be under the control of the player when and if they choose.
So you have to, what that sounds like to me is you will have to literally be like, hey, Copilot, I need to know about this.
I mean,
right?
to me, it sounds like a feature I can turn off.
Yeah.
But like even if you have it on, it is something that only responds to your requests, as opposed to, I see you're trying to, free the whatevers. Do you want to help with that?
I mean, I'll be honest. This does, in a lot of ways, sound like basically having Twitch chat with you all the time. With the same hey, don't give me any spoilers and don't give me any help unless I say, hey, Twitch chat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I guess that could be, it could be kind of an interesting thing. The idea of
here's what I found on GameFAQs.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. Sometimes when I look up how to get to a thing, I can't, especially if it's like maybe not a game that's as popular, so it's not one that's getting guides written as much or that kind of thing. Sometimes the only things I can find about that game are other people's playthroughs of videos, not actual GameFAQ write-ups.
Right.
And it's
so
very
if,
irritating.
An AI summary of that, So yeah, AI is going to take your jobs too, Twitch chat.
Oh my God. I just really but yeah, you bring up a good point where it's like the modern thing of it's just easier for me to record my gameplay session.
A lot of people just record and make videos for these things now.
And then they just put it up and they're like, you'll find everything you need to know about how to pass this area by watching my video. And I'm like, sometimes I watch those videos and I'm watching you fail 6 times in a row until you finally do it. And I'm like, oh, this isn't the part where something's happening. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, I don't want to sit and watch you play for 28 minutes and try to figure out at what point do you get past the point that I'm interested in.
I was playing, what was it called? I was playing a game that did not have any guides on how to get this one collectible I was having a problem with. So, and I only found one other person who'd done a playthrough of the game because it was like Vita or something.
Yeah.
And because thankfully there was like a map section that would show if you'd gotten things or not. So I went through their entire playthrough and just looked for the map to see if they'd done it yet. And I had to go through 6 videos before I found it. And it's really irritating because it was a dumb thing I hadn't noticed. But
I was just thinking, I was like, an amazing situation that I would love to have AI help me with.
Oh, yeah?
In this idea of having like an AI that's sort of like watching your play and could possibly make suggested one. As an example, say it's like you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, and you're like, hey Copilot, which of the guy holding the signs haven't I got yet?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't believe they don't put that on the map.
But the only way you would be able to figure it's like, and then the Copilot, has a record of every single thing you've done in the game.
Yeah.
And they could tell you that.
Yeah.
Like that would be legitimately candy.
That would be kind of great. Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't they don't have that as a thing on the map.
I know.
They put all the Koroks
Yeah.
down as like the ones that you've gotten. They put other things. You found Sign Guy. We don't need to put that information on the map.
There's a whole bunch of little things in that game where it's like it would be way nicer. Like, so we're playing Echoes of Wisdom, and it has collectible stuff. Like when you find the shards or whatever, it's like they will mark those on the map because that's like an important thing to find.
Right.
But you can also toggle those things on and off if you want to see some of them and you don't want to see others. I'm like, that was the thing about the Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild stuff where I'm like, it would be nice if you would allow me to toggle on and off each individual thing that I'm kind of out looking for right now. That would have been a big
That
help,
would have been good too.
But it's as far as the
But, like,
as far as having like something that's always watching and being like, I will watch your game and let you know what you've missed if you ask me for it.
As somebody who, like, I really enjoy, I like playing sort of, Metroidvania style games and stuff.
Yeah.
But often those games, like those, for me anyway, those games live and die by their map.
Yes.
And if a game doesn't, if the game doesn't have a good map and it expects me to remember where the hell I needed to use that particular ability, I'm going to start getting annoyed at it pretty fast.
I need a good map. I also need the ability to take the mini map in the corner and to keep it static. I hate games that are like, we're going to make the map move with you being in the direction. And I'm like,
rotate the map with you?
I can't do that. My brain doesn't like it. It can't handle that. And then I can't figure out what direction I'm supposed to go in.
It does.
Stop doing it.
I think what it does do is it illustrates that. So this is going to be a weirder point. Gamer culture has moved on from gaining clout by writing guides. Because that was a thing in the early days, is that if you didn't know what was going on, you were trading tips on the playground kind of idea, right? That you were like, I'm talking to so-and-so. It turns out his older brother knows how to beat the whatever thing, and he told me to do this, like that kind of, or I have uncle at Nintendo, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you were always trading tips on the playground to try to get past stuff. And then the rise at the same time of like Nintendo Power and GamePro and EGM and like all these magazines that were meant to like give you hints on the most popular games and draw you, like give you maps and stuff. The rise of the internet led to the democratization of that, where everyone's like, we're all writing guides, and then the quality of your guide and the amount of information and being able to read and stuff, that will translate into you earning clout within the GameFAQs community and stuff, of be like, oh, this guy's published 300 guides, he plays a lot of video games, and he's done all this kind of whatever. And then that leads to IGN and a bunch of other different
now
companies.
Guides get written for essentially trying to get people to click onto those websites.
To come to those websites. And then that's falling by the wayside, where it's like only the most popular games will get the guides, and the less popular games, you can't pay someone to write a guide for a game that not many people are playing.
Again, because it's changed the purpose of why people make those guides.
And then you start having people just being like, well, I want to film my playthrough and show my 100% whatever, and so then I'm going to put that up, and it's all you can do is watch YouTube videos. I'm like, we are kind of in this position, because we also had like the dedicated game guide was a thing that for a long time, that you had all these companies publishing dedicated game guides of here's everything you need to know about the game, and it's $35, but it'll tell you how to play the game from one end to the other. And we are paying people to sit down and play this game all the way through and collect all the information, and we're going to the companies and asking for more information, and we're doing all this stuff and compiling all this data. And I'm like, that has moved on. That is no longer a thing that is like big in gaming, that is a very niche thing, and it's only for certain things. Like that has fallen, and it feels weird to be like, knowing that I can't go anywhere to get my answer if I'm missing something in a game and there's just no information, because I'm one of the only people who's maybe not found it or cares.
Yeah, like we have print game guides. They still make them, but they're still not as much, and that's partially because people can just look stuff up on the internet.
Right.
When they make them now, they're kind of almost like
Sort of
special edition, almost
items.
art book style things now.
Yeah. And
again, those are only done for certain games. But even before that, when Prima was doing, because I think they still exist, but when for a while, they had switched also to digital.
Yeah.
Because printing stuff is not
And
no
that,
money.
And that information doesn't have, because people aren't buying the guides anymore, that kind of information doesn't have as much of a monetary value to people anymore. I think that's interesting too, that it's like we're publishing all this stuff for free. Oh, wait, we're publishing really good versions of it for money, but because we have to pay people to put all that stuff together. But now that's gone by the wayside because people don't even consider that worth their money to pay for in the first place. And you see an entire erosion of, like, I shouldn't say an industry, but a piece of this.
Well, because I mean,
you know,
originally, for most people, if they got a player's guide, it'd be because there's like one thing that was stopping them, right? Or maybe you get people who do want to do the collector thing. I remember buying one of the Pokemon guides, I think for Gold and Silver, not for the guidebook itself so much as it had a checklist of every Pokemon for you to try to keep track of what you had. You know, there were other reasons to buy guides, but I think a lot of people are like, I'm playing a game at this one thing that I'm stuck on, that if I could just figure out how to get past, I don't care about trying to find all the collectibles or trying to do these other things.
In that case, you just look it up online.
Yeah.
You don't need the thing. But
You hope to hell that you can look it up online in the first place. And
of course, the thing with, of course, AI stuff is that we'll see. Be interesting to see how this acts, because there's the thing that the really frustrating thing that AI stuff often does, where it doesn't. It's always sure about things, right? So now this Copilot thing, if you need to ask it for help, it becomes like the guy on the playground that is like, oh yeah, 100%. If you duck in this corner for like 10 minutes and then A/B start,
you get Mewtwo.
you get a special thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, Copilot, are you sure about that? And it's like, yeah, it 100% happens.
Yeah. And then you tell them again, to look like the next day, and they're like, so you need to, it's like, you do this. It's like, I thought you said this. It's like, no, that was never true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is that where we're going, where the evolution of this is, you can't pay people to write guides anymore, because there's no money in trying to get guides written in the first place. Or it only works for popular games.
It's just for big games.
And so now what you have is, well, we'll have an AI do it, who is perfectly fine hallucinating their way through your video game.
So my understanding is a lot of the people who make guides for like IGN or the bigger like things is they're people who are playing through the games and exhaustively trying to find the things to fill out those guides.
Yeah.
Which you can't just. I'm not sure you can just get an AI to go scrub the internet and tell you the answers for when a thing doesn't exist on the internet already.
It's true.
So that would be, again, putting people out of work, but
yes,
that would be an interesting, like, if we could get, because of course, how an AI system like this works now anyway, is presumably it's just being trained on game facts or whatever stuff on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to ChatGPT and ask it about help with a video game, and it'll probably come back with something that is relatively accurate.
Yeah,
because it's pulled in hundreds of terabytes of stuff.
It knows a bunch of stuff about Ultima.
But if we could get to the point, if an AI system could like play through especially like a JRPG or like a long game, play through it and they figure out and actually like write a guide.
Oh yeah,
not based on other people's guides, based on the content of the game.
Yeah,
like actually learn the game. That would be actually that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I would find that fascinating. I don't think
it's a good use of resources.
Presumably, it would be bad. Yes. It wouldn't be, or at least it would start being as a really bad guide.
Yeah.
But the idea of it, like the idea of an AI system being able to actually do that, figure out what's important, figure out and sort of learn the mechanics of the game from scratch.
Yeah.
Would be super interesting.
It would be. I mean, a corollary to that, though, which would be kind of interesting, is that so let's say everybody gets Tears of the Kingdom, right? We all buy Tears of the Kingdom day one or whatever, and we're all playing it.
Okay.
And as we are playing it, as people find things in the game, that gets unlocked. Like this, don't freak out. That information gets unlocked on a global level.
Okay.
Like Nintendo has a whole guide of all the flags and everything you can trip in the game. And as people start doing that stuff, it gets unlocked on a global level that you get to a point where you're like, I want to access the shared knowledge of this game so far. And it'll show you, here's what's been discovered about Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm gonna tell you about some things that already exist.
Yeah.
Where in some games you could leave notes. Dark Souls.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you're asking.
Not really, because all the stuff has already been defined by the company who makes the game, like everything that's in the game.
I get
As
that.
people discover it, it's automatically unlocked without having to reference
But-
any of it.
But that's, to me, not nearly as fun as Dark Souls people leaving notes. That
Yeah,
are
amazing chest ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
the notes are way funnier, and
Yeah.
I think they're way more interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's surprising that companies don't usually write their own guides, like that. Mostly it's other
Yes, because there's
third-party
so
companies.
much free time.
Yeah,
I
because
mean-
they have the design guides already, and they've made the game, and you would assume that it might be worthwhile. Well, I mean, freaking Nintendo did that, right? They made Nintendo Power, and they even, on top of that, made specific guides for specific games back in the 16-bit days. I have a Link to the Past guide that they published for Link to the Past.
It is actually made by Nintendo.
It is made by Nintendo, published by them, and it's probably part of the Nintendo Power publishing arm to begin with. And it's like, that clearly was not worth the money for them. They even closed Nintendo Power down, but it's like, that was important to them at the time to make that happen.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure most of those people still worked separate and
Oh, yeah.
didn't get that information. Like it's stuff they still had to make or try to get a hold of.
Well, we know from the
You
Nintendo
know.
Power, like the counselors, the hotline, is that they were compiling notes and filling shit out themselves. And it's like, why didn't you just get this from people who made the games? And it's
'Cause,
like, because
again, it
that's not how
doesn't
that
exist.
works.
Yeah. Anyway, who knows if that will actually be anything, but it's kind of an interesting idea. Anyway,
That's all we have time for.
that's all. It's true. That's all we have time for. So, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for supporting us in all the many ways that you do, whether it's here on Twitch or over on YouTube or over on Patreon,
Store.loadingreadyrun.com.
store.loadingreadyrun.com, all those things. But for now, we will talk to y'all later.